Scott Blackwell is the co-founder and owner of High Wire Distilling, which is an agriculturally focused whiskey distillery in downtown Charleston. He tells me what he's working on right now for the company for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Scott Blackwell, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you're one of the co-founders and CEO of the High Wire Distillery, which is an agriculturally focused whiskey distillery in downtown Charleston, which obviously, as you know, is a proud maker of Jimmy Red Bourbon, new Southern Revival Rye, and of course the Hat Trick Gin. And as you also know, Scott, High Wire was actually born out of the desire to explore a range of flavor that might be found in lost and forgotten grains. So tell me, Scott, what's new? What's now with High Wire Distillery?
Well, there's a lot of things that are new, but sort of also the same.
Yeah.
The whiskey business, especially. I mean, we make other things like you mentioned, the gin, our Amaro, things of that nature. But the whiskey business, if you actually make your own whiskey from grain, which a lot of folks buy their whiskey and put it in a label bottle, that kind of thing. We actually go from, the field all the way through, and you have to be very patient. So the newest thing is we've been in this current facility here on UG Street for a little over 5.5 years. And because of that, that means that the whiskey that we made in this building when we first moved in is now turning a little over 5 years old, which is an exciting place for us because it takes time. So the new offerings are just getting a little more diverse because with age, you have a little bit more flexibility around what you're doing. Probably the newest release that we released 2 weeks ago was our peach finished Jimmy Red. So we use South Carolina peaches to make a peach brandy. And then we take those barrels after the peach brandy's been dumped and bottled and put bourbon in those and let that sit for a few months. And the result is pretty awesome. So that's the kind of the newest kid on the block as we speak.
And Scott, you talk about obviously UG Street, which has been transformed into a tremendous place for businesses over the past couple of years. What is the biggest difference from when you started 5 years ago on UG Street to right now?
Well, there's always been a lot of traffic.
Yes.
As you know, there's only 3 crosstown streets on the peninsula, including UG. And that leads to people, use it to get back and forth across the peninsula pretty heavily. So I would say otherwise there's, I'm seeing more and more things on the skyline, more condos, more apartments. And then the latest development that's really exciting to us is the announcement of the low line and that funding and the actual project starting. So I think they're set to start on that this September, and that'll be a 2-mile stretch of walking and biking path that runs right by our building, which is going to be really fantastic, I think, for the town, for the neighborhood, of course, for us. And then across the street, they're installing a pump house for that flooding at King and UG that's been happening for a long, long time. And once they get that flooding under control, they're going to beautify UG Street. There's going to be some beautification. So I expect over the next 2 years, a lot's going to continue to change. I would like to say when people come to town to visit, I say, well, we are in lunch heaven up here. We have Rodney Scott, we have Berkeley's, we have, all Leon's, the guys at Melfi's are open select days. That's just to name a few, but in this area, it's where all the great lunch spots are. So it's really been, convenient for us being here, but it's changed.
Sure. And Scott, how have you and your team at High Wire Distillery been able to change with all the growth that's coming into the Low Country?
Well, because we are, I think there's a fascinating piece of data that we learned about 2 years ago about our businesses and our tasting room. About 90% of the visitors that we have coming here are from out of town. We are not like a local brewery where we have, locals coming in regularly. So as tourism has increased, that's created more opportunity for us, of course. We live downtown, so
Okay.
we have all the woes that everybody else has of the traffic and the additional, just influx of people. But with that comes some really positive things, like our restaurant scene is really robust. If it was just counting on locals, it wouldn't be very robust.
Mhm.
So, I think you kind of take the good with the bad. But yeah, it's certainly we've felt it, here, and I think the city felt it. Really post COVID is really when it started to really push. Felt like it kind of pushed to the borders.
Right.
So anyway, you live here,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Having grown up, raised on the peninsula for many, many years and living there until 2023. But you talk about those locals and obviously the visitors that come into town. When it comes to tasting and obviously the drinks, Scott, what exactly are the customers' wants and needs now?
Well, I think for us, we're like I like to think of us like a winery in that we are agritourism. They're coming here to see a grain that's been in this area. Jimmy Red is James Island Red.
Oh
It has
yeah.
been in this area for a long, long time. It was quiet or dormant for a long time, but people want to come here. They want to see how we make what we make, and they want to taste what we make. And so, about 4 years ago, we helped pass some legislation with several other distilleries in the state to allow the ability to serve food. Believe it or not, we weren't allowed to serve food before 21, which is, not a great thing when you have alcohol. So we wanted to be able to serve food. Our food program here are what I call like elevated snacks, or shareables. You can come here and eat lunch, and get a meal, but the reality is most people come in and they, order things and then share them. But all of those food items are, like we have a Jimmy Red cornbread with sliced, this country ham and sorghum butter. And our hummus is made from butter beans one of our farms grows. So we, we make crackers out of our spent grain, so that lavash style Jimmy Red cracker, things of that. So we want to sort of just immerse people in that sort of what we have to offer here in this part of the state with agriculture and foodways. And then of course our drinks also sort of fall in line with that. So like right now we have a watermelon brandy that we made with South Carolina melons from Coosaw Farms and Grow Food. And we make a cocktail with watermelon and mint and things of that nature, all bought from right around here. And then we have a peach, there again, that's when peach finished, old fashioned. So a Jimmy Red peach finished old fashioned. So there again, we're constantly telling stories about that agriculture and shining a light on that. And I think that's what people are looking for.
Mm. Mm.
We, it's unique,
Yes, sir.
so.
Yeah. As you were just saying that, Scott, I thought about something, but let me ask you, what is that untold story about the agriculture in this region?
Well, I mean, let's face it, it was fairly rural, back in the day, and farming, would have been, I mean, all the way back to, of course, like, Carolina Gold rice. And the rice culture here would have been, I mean, huge. I can't even imagine. They're saying that Bennett's Mill, the facade that's behind the Harris Teeter,
Right.
used to see like 220,000 pounds of rice a day.
Huh.
And, I can't imagine the amount of labor, because all that, I mean, it was humans, of course, enslaved folks mainly doing all of that work. What sort, I mean, so I think it was pretty rich agriculture at that point. You've got peanuts, you've got watermelon, you've got sorghum, you've got that diaspora coming over from West Africa. So you've got a rich culture of farming and farming know-how along with that. So, I think that that's ultimately a treasure that we have.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Which one of those treasures that you want to hold on to with your particular brand and product?
Well, I mean, we are really just like when we moved here, I was in the food business my whole life. We moved here, I'd never distilled anything. And we thought, we can just go buy corn and wheat and rye, and there's plenty of that being grown around here. I mean, there's corn for chicken houses and things of that nature, but we wanted something that really told the story around this place and helped sort of celebrate the area. So I think that's why Jimmy Red always gets that kind of halo effect, is that it's the best example. But peaches, another thing that, we all grew up with here in South Carolina, and everybody's got their favorite. And having that sort of preserved into a bottle, because ultimately that brandy, when it's made, it can last in that bottle for hundreds of years. I mean, it doesn't go bad. So
Right.
it's like preserving a single season. So I think it's more of just, there again, telling stories through our products and capturing those things. We've distilled all sorts of things. We've distilled tomatoes before. So we've done John's Island tomatoes into a brandy. We've done the watermelon. We've done apples, the peach, and then other varieties of corn, other varieties of wheat, rye, things of that nature. Our rye is a Brootsy rye, which is grown around here and has been for a long, long time. It tastes different, and I think that's what's really cool about it. It's like we're a little pocket of flavor, and we want to shine light on that.
Oh, absolutely. And I was just thinking about this a couple of hours ago, and I really need to go and get it again today when I go get a sub from Harris Teeter. But I'm hoping to get a peach from there as well, because I love those peaches there, which is obviously from South Carolina. But you talk about those products that you all obviously make at High Wire, Scott. Which one of those particular products describes you?
Me personally?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, I think, I mean, my wife Ann and I both are from South Carolina.
Cool.
It's hard, it's like asking an artist sometimes, like, why did you paint that or whatever? It's innate. And there's an innateness in there. So I'm sure there's some vein of, sort of the South Carolina and then the South in general in everything we sort of touch, because it's just sort of, we're making it. But I think that my curiosity, I'm an extremely curious person. I ask questions. My wife definitely, I'll say, what do you think? Why do you think? And she's like, you ask so many, that's where like Wikipedia has become my best friend. But I think that all these things that we make all sort of started with that curiosity. So I think if I were to say, what's probably the best example of that, corn in general, we've done a deep, deep dive into corn. So much so that in 2019, we went to Oaxaca and outside of Mexico City to a maize and wheat research center, and then went into the fields in Oaxaca and then to Tortilla Village to just do a total immersion into the world of maize or / corn. So I think that probably tells the best, or is the best example of like, the obsession and the curiosity and how far we want to go to sort of understand flavor and understand where flavor's coming from, and why does this taste like this, and how can we make it better, and how can we, it's kind of a never-ending quest when you make something. There's an evolution of sorts. So that's why I said earlier we're in an exciting place, because we're finally at a place where when we moved into this building, we were able to increase production. And with that, now the fruits of that labor are finally coming to fruition, in that we're, have all this great whiskey available, and we're able to share it more widely. So,
Oh, absolutely. What are you curious about next when it comes to obviously flavors and, products?
I mean, there again, we're constantly learning. In process, I used to own a bakery before this, and, it's like a chocolate chip cookie recipe. You can give that same recipe with the same ingredients to 10 different people, and you're going to kind of get 10 different cookies, because that process, it's about how tempered was your butter, how long did you cream the butter, what, how sort of that process ultimately will have an effect on that item. Same thing in what we do. So, everything starts in the field, and those fields and how they're treated and how they're kept, how they're planted, sort of the drying in the field and all that, the weather, of course. And then when we get it here, it's how it's, stored, how it's milled, fermentation, playing around with yeast strains, temperatures, and then you get into the distillation and how you're distilling it. And then you get into that barrel aging, and then there's a selection of barrels, and it's like different toasts, different chars, different types of oak, sort of the ambient conditions that we're in. We have another warehouse in the naval base. We've got an additional 15,000 feet up there that has several thousand barrels in it, and they are aging differently. So we're just now starting to learn sort of what that flavor profile is like. So I think the curiosity is pretty wild at this moment. Of that finishing piece is very fascinating, and understanding kind of what's going on and how can we sort of kind of understand it better and really harness that. And I don't think it's ever going to stop, to be honest. I mean, I think there's always going to be kind of a continued obsession with that.
Oh, absolutely. You have the headquarters down on Hughes Street, and I'll be down there in a few to deliver food and all that stuff to my customers. And then, of course, you have the Navy Yard over here in North Charleston. Well, I'm in Hanahan right now, but next door in North Charleston. Where else do you want to expand next with High Wire Distilling?
We're here. I mean, we love being. When we moved, we originally were on King Street, right between the crosstown bridges there. And when we moved, we loved the neighborhood. We loved this area. This building was sort of transitional, was not, it was a lot of storage, basically. We, I think, beautified it and, made it, a little more retail slash production friendly. There was no water in the building necessarily, or sewer or any of that kind of thing. Definitely no air conditioning. So we made this space, I think, a sort of a flagship for what we do. So we're really happy to be here. We wanted to be accessible to those tourists. The low line was talked about at that point, but I think it'll be so cool when people can pick up a bike somewhere down, on the peninsula, and pull up right out here, and lock their bike up and come in and, just make it part of their tour up the low line. So I think that it's ultimately, this spot is, it's really great. I mean, so we don't have any real visions around that. The warehouse, in the naval base is just that. It
Oh,
is, there's no office there. It's just literally like a bunch of barrels, and then there's no one there, typically day to day. So, that's the problem with the, inventory is you always need more space, as you build inventory.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And how, if people want to stop by and visit your distillery, how can they go about that?
So we're open 10 to 7 Monday through Thursday, and then on Fridays and Saturday 10 to 9, closed on Sundays. We can sell bottles, so you can come in and buy up to 6 bottles per person in a day. You can enjoy cocktails, tastings. We have beer, we have wine, we have non-alcoholic drinks, we have food, really tours happen primarily Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. It's all on our website, highwiredistilling.com. You can get on there and sign up and come take a tour and walk through. And it's about a 45-minute walk through, and they'll explain, the whole process, and you can get down and dirty and all of that. Otherwise, we're doing cocktail classes once a month. Our team up front is that they're doing sort of riffs on traditional cocktails. They'll show you the traditional, and then they add additional plays on that. So you can check out our social media for that. Highwire CHS at Highwire CHS. That's Instagram, Twitter, and then Facebook, of course. So,
oh, that's exciting. Very exciting. Very exciting. Well, Scott Blackwell with High Wire Distilling, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks, Quintin. Good talking to you. Have a good one.
Likewise.